It's been Finance Day at COP26 today, so the big focus has been on how much money is required to stop climate change. Well, Mark Carney tried to give us the answer. Apparently it's 100 trillion US dollars will help fix climate change and get us on that net zero pathway and achieve our net zero goals by the middle of this century.
Because we know that only mainstream finance can fund the estimated $100 trillion of investment needed over the course of the next 3 decades for a clean energy future.
$100 trillion. Doesn't sound too much, does it? Until you think about actually there's only, 7.8 billion people on the planet, so $100 trillion, that's about $13,000 that every single person would have to contribute each. If we're going to divide it equally, obviously there's a whole heap of people who live in poverty, and 10% of the world live in extreme poverty as well. So that's going to be a bit tough. But fortunately Mark Carney had the answer, and what he's done is he's pulled together 450 of the richest investment companies in the world that control $130 trillion of investments. So he's saying that, basically if you get these guys, these big companies all together, these 450 companies, and they invest their $130 trillion in climate change initiatives to sort out climate change, then we're all going to be fine.
Over $130 trillion of private capital waiting to be deployed, and a greener financial system underway.
Yeah, these 450 companies are part of Glasgow's Financial Alliance for Net Zero, the GFANZ, I guess. And yeah, they look after $130 trillion of assets, of investments across the world. So yeah, sure, if we can get all that invested in low carbon technologies and zero carbon technologies, we're probably going to be well on the way. Look, let's be realistic here. These 450 companies that have signed up to this, what they've signed up to is setting themselves net zero targets to achieve it by 2050. So if they do it correctly, then they'll also include what we call Scope 3, which is all their indirect emissions. The big one for the investment companies is the emissions that are caused by the companies they invest in. Yeah, so if they're investing in energy companies, oil companies, or coal companies, obviously the carbon emissions there are going to be high. So to achieve net zero, they're going to need to stop doing that for a start, and see where it goes. But I think that the fundamental flaw of what Mark Carney is suggesting is that that $130 trillion is not necessarily going to be invested in zero carbon technologies. And these companies don't have to achieve their net zero target until 2050. Okay, they will have an interim target. I believe the target's going to be for 2030, and I suspect it's going to be aimed at getting to about half the carbon emissions of what they have today or at some point in the past. I haven't seen the documents, I haven't read all the details about it, but that's what I'm guessing. I think we're going to be a long way short if we're relying on those 450 companies to fund the solutions to climate change. The first thing that they need to do, of course, the very first step, is to stop funding the oil industry and stop funding the coal industry and all the other industries that have super high carbon emissions. Okay, if they can fund the transition to zero carbon, then that's good. But at the moment, then that's not where they're focused. Let's not kid ourselves. That's not where they're focused, their investments, is it? I think it comes down to us as well as individuals. We all have pension funds, and these 450 companies, some of those will be managing our pension funds. So we need to be careful in selecting which pension fund we're using, which company we're using to invest our money. So I don't know how many people know where their pension funds are being invested. Do I? To be honest, I'm not that sure. I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to see if I can change it. So step 1, to you 450 companies, stop funding the oil and gas industry as quickly as possible Stop funding deforestation, activities that cause deforestation. And we don't need to. And do we need to wait? Do we need to wait until 2050 for you guys to have finished doing this? Or can we set a much closer target? That's what I want to see. Tomorrow at COP26, the focus is on clean energy and getting us off coal. So let's see how well we can do tomorrow. Let's hope it's a little bit better than what we've achieved today in the finance.